And we're live.
Okay, you are live on Craig Reed's Happy Channel. And today we have a very special guest. We have booked him as fire-breathing atheist.
Hmm.
But in fact, that may be a bit of an exaggeration. He may even be a nice guy atheist. We don't know yet. We're going to interview him. We're going to find out. But some of you know him from Twitter as Robert Reed, atheist extraordinaire. Reed, would you like to introduce yourself to the people?
I think you just
He's a
did it.
people, Reed.
Hello, people. My name is Robert Reed, and apparently I'm a fire-breathing, baby-eating atheist. And here I am
Fire-breathing
on Craig's channel.
Yes. We're going to find out why Reed, why choose evil when you could have chosen good.
Let's find out.
Okay, so what a lot of people don't know, or I don't know how many people know this, but you actually were a professional football player for a period of time.
I was
correct?
For a very short period of time, but I signed in 1996 with the Philadelphia Eagles. I was a backup to William Thomas, and when you back up in All-Pro, that means you are an overpaid tackling dummy. And so let William Thomas whip my ass. I bought his wife a whole bunch of gifts because that's what rookies do. And then I took a year off. And then the year after that, I played outside rusher for Hamilton Tiger Cats in the CFL.
Oh, is that was the Canadian League, the Canadian Startup League?
No, that's not a startup. They've been around for a while. And I got on with them, and it was a miserable experience. And after that, I called it quits.
How was it playing for the Philadelphia Eagles? Was it a good time in your life, would you say, or exciting, or downsides?
Well, exciting in that every kid that's ever played high school football dreams of playing professional football. So the fact that I was able to put my name on an NFL contract was my athletic Mount Everest.
Yeah.
It was, no one can ever prepare you for what it's like to be a professional football player. It is, I don't care if you are a starter or a third string backup. It is the most stressful job you've ever had and one of the hardest jobs you've ever had. I was not prepared because no one can put into words what it's like.
Why? What's the stress aspect? The psychological?
The psychological in that, and my mother does cross stitch or whatever it's called. And one of the things that she has up on her walls at the house is money is the root of all evil. It's a cute saying until you get into the NFL.
Right. And you see its corrupting power firsthand.
And you have to understand there are 53 roster spots. You have 125 guys trying to get one of those 53 roster spots. Of those 53 roster spots, about 10 will make you richer than you've ever imagined. And so if I have to stab Craig Reed in the back to get one of those roster spots, right now just talking, I'll say, of course I'm not going to stab Craig Reed. I like him. But someone puts $25 million in front of your face, you may think about stabbing Craig Reed. It's a very no friends business. No emotions. It's all about the cash.
Yeah, I can see that. That's where actually the saying comes from. I mean, that's the part of the point of the saying is like when there's money on the line, you find out what people are really all about. And
absolutely,
everyone can have integrity when there's nothing at stake, but when there's actual like riches at stake, forget it.
You find out who your friends are as well. The people that change when you sign for, and I didn't sign for, the $20 million, but I signed for a decent amount. My signing bonus was kind of attractive. Right. The people in your life that don't change, those are your friends. The people, before you're just, you're one step up from the Elephant Man. When you sign an NFL contract, all of a sudden you become Denzel Washington. And all the girls who told you, to beat it when you asked them for a date, now all of a sudden think you're beautiful. They're like, yesterday I was poor and you didn't give me any play. Today I'm handsome. I was like, so it's a crooked business. It's a very crooked business.
I mean, you find out on that side too what people are about also, because they wanted nothing to do with you when you were like just Robert Reed from the small town, but now you're Robert Reed, professional football player, and they're all like, oh my God, Robert Reed! I can't wait to remember that time when we were hanging out in high school. No, who you?
Yeah, exactly.
Who you? I'm Robert Reed. I'm Robert Reed, girl. Who are you? I don't even remember your name. So did the prom queen and like the good looking girls from your high school all of a sudden start phoning you up and saying, "Hey"?
No, I didn't have that problem so much. I mean, on a very small level, because again, I wasn't that guy in the NFL. But believe it or not, despite what you see on Twitter or what you heard on YouTube, I keep to myself. I'm somewhat of a introvert to the point where it's almost crippling. So
really?
I didn't have a whole bunch of friends in high school, and I didn't have a bunch of friends in college either. And so in order for someone to know me, they would have had to reach out to me in the first place. They'd have to know me, and not a lot of people knew me. I had a very close circle of friends, and by that I meant like one or two.
You were a small town boy, right? Originally,
Yeah.
like you're from where did you grow up exactly? Somewhere in Louisiana, is that
New
right?
Roads. New Roads,
Louisiana.
Yeah, and then I came to Texas, and New Roads is about the size of my living room. And
so you were a young Christian at this time too. So you're a small town Christian guy, and innocent of the ways of the world, I would guess. Is that a good guess? No, he's about to say no. No, I wasn't innocent at all.
I'm going to say naive. I'm not going to say innocent. Not innocent, because my childhood was wrought with overt racism. I mean,
wow. Okay.
I got called the N-word so much I thought it was my middle name. I watched my mom get called it. My mom was spat upon on sit-ins. My dad was shot in the civil rights movement. My family was treated like crap.
Wow.
When I was a kid. So I was not the least bit naive on the evils of the world.
Okay.
I was, or innocent, I should say. I was a little naive in just interpersonal relationships, because growing up, the only people that you could trust were the people that had your own last name. Right? If you want to know who's going to got your back, it's your cousin. It's your grandmother.
What a strange coincidence.
Yeah,
what a very strange coincidence, Reed. I'm the only one who has your back.
Maybe you got my back after all.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Praying for you all the time, Reed.
Oh,
it's not working. It's not working.
I actually had a friend. I went to lunch today with a friend that I haven't seen in a while.
Yeah.
And at the end of lunch, he knows I don't believe in God, and he told me he's been praying for me ever since. And so I still live in the Bible Belt, like I've said before. So I actually hear that a lot, that people are praying for me. So all I can do is say thank you, because I know it comes from a good place.
Yeah, well, what's your relationship like? Let's go back to when did you start moving away from the church? Because you were a Christian for a long time, right?
Oh yeah. When did I start moving away from the church? I think officially maybe post-college, because I went to church still even when I was in college.
And you were a churchgoer as a professional football player? Were you on the...
No. Well, one, you don't have the time, really.
Okay.
Because, again, that roster spot you're holding on to, especially when you're in my spot, is tenuous at best. So you could either spend an hour in church, or you can spend an hour with your nose in your playbook. I chose and plus you played on Sundays. So
right, yeah, that's true.
And so I mean, if you want to say pull away or just stop going to church, was probably after I graduated college.
Okay. And then you didn't become an atheist until years later?
I officially came clean with my atheism at 39. I had been wrestling with some stuff. I'm 46 now. So I went back and forth, questioned some stuff, and then finally I can't keep this up at 39.
Right. Okay. So but as far as going back to how you were raised, I've heard you describe it as what? Traditionally religious, intensely religious? How would you say it? And what type of sect was it, and what's the difference between how you were raised and some other people you knew who were raised Christian?
Is it different? Catholic. My mom's side was Catholic. My dad's side was Baptist. So I got both of them. With the Catholicism, you got the routine. You know, if you went to one church in Louisiana, it's going to be the same routine you got in Texas.
The ritual.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
With the Baptist church was way more fun. And
this was the African American Baptist, right?
Oh God, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
With the spirituals, and you rock it out, and
awesome, the cool music and the great. Like there's usually the woman who can sing like you can't even believe. Like
the funnest part was I went to Mount Zion Baptist Church every Sunday without fail, no matter how tired I felt, no matter how bad my body hurt after a football game. I always went to Mount Zion because it always made me feel good. And you went because, one, Pastor Clark was incredible. That guy could sell ice cubes to Eskimos. He was just that damn good. And I don't remember her name, but there's always a Sister Johnson in a black church. I don't care where you go, there's always a Sister Johnson. And always about halfway through, when Pastor Clark was frothing out the mouth, and his big thing, he'd always say Shirley. Surley, when he was just really just Shirley, and just the crowd would just get into it. And Sister Johnson, every single time he started Shirley, would start running laps. And when I say Sister Johnson, I'm talking about a 70-something-year-old woman, frail, and she would just scream out to Jesus because she caught the Holy Ghost. I don't know how it is in other churches, but black churches always have nurses. And so you've got these nurses trying to chase Sister Johnson down. And they would tackle her, they fan her down, they give her water, and she finally calmed down. He'd hit one more damn Shirley, she'd pop up and start running laps around that goddamn church. And it was just so much fun. And between the music and Sister Johnson, and if you can, when you could not listen to "You're going to go to hell and burn forever," the messages, I'm not going to lie, they were uplifting. If you could kind of sift through some of the other crap that wasn't all that palatable, it was a good way to start your week.
Yeah, well, if it's that's one of the things I've been trying to say. Like if it's toned down and life affirming and generally speaking positive, you know, that's a lot better for most people than if it's like a hardcore, you know, don't touch a wiener, you're going to burn in hell type of sermon, you know, which I'm sure there was some.
Oh, I grew up with it, actually, because Mount Zion was just a church I went to in college. The other churches I went to growing up, those were the ones that told you the other side.
Touch a wiener, you're going to burn in hell.
Well, I mean, all of it. Pick something. Pick anything. If you're gay, you're going to go to hell. If you have sex before you get married, you're going to go to hell. If you say God's name with the wrong tone of voice, you're going to go to hell. Keep asking questions, and you're going to go to hell. Fart without saying excuse me, you're going to go. Everything that you did had a consequence.
So there was no middle ground. There was no middle ground. There was no like you just made a mistake and now you like confess and you know it's like you're done. You're done. Game over.
Well, pretty much, yeah. And that to me is fundamental Christianity. Either do what you're told, or you're toast.
Right.
And that's not why I'm an atheist, but that's just an unattractive message. That to me is if I was married, and every night if my dinner is not made exactly the way I want it to, I'm gonna whip your ass. And there's no either or. There's no happy middle ground. Now, if I say
wait, are you saying that's a bad thing? That I'm not supposed to be like, oh wait, okay.
You are not. Yes, you may want to write that down.
Did you hear that, babe? Get that dinner made. I'm gonna whip your ass. Where is she? I said dinner now. Where'd she go?
Let me get you that away.
That's right. She's outside. She can't even hear me play acting that, or I'd be killed.
Exactly. But
I do try to work that in.
Yeah, and you probably laugh your ass off while you say it with you not being serious.
Right.
But when I was being raised, that's a real thing.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I try to make it a real thing. It just doesn't go over too well.
Yeah.
My wife will go like, she's like, I'm going to leave at 10:30. I'm like, you'll leave the time I say you're going to leave. And she's like, you're such a moron. That's what I come back usually.
And you can get away with, or that's you and your wife's relationship. Y'all two are on equal footing. I was always told that God is on a footing you'll never get to. And again, cross him, you're toast.
Right. So so that's what started. Let's assume that had something to do with starting the ball rolling towards atheism, that there were messages that were at least contradictory or not too healthy as far as you were concerned. Is that fair to say?
Say that again? That was my road towards atheism?
No, that started the ball rolling. Like there were messages that were not exactly positive in your eyes. Like you're not saying that's healthy.
No, I will admit that the contradictory messages will make you do research. I'll admit to that. An all-loving God who will kick your ass for no reason at all whatsoever. That's a contradiction. That's not all-loving. So yes, that made me ask questions. So yeah, I'll admit to that.
Okay, so that's at least partially responsible for starting the process of investigation that led you to. Now, okay, so you tell me, where should I fast forward to? Fast forward to let's go to the most important parts. We got your football career. There is some positive attributes of, by the way, I called the Eagles. I don't know if you remember this, but way back when, the beginning of last year, maybe I don't want to bring this up. Maybe you don't want to be embarrassed by me bringing this up, but you said the Patriots were going to win the Super Bowl. And I said the Eagles might. And you schooled me on that. You were like, no way, no way.
Man,
I don't know if you remember that.
Coming. I do, and no one saw that coming. I know I didn't see it coming.
I didn't necessarily see it coming, but I was rooting for them. I was as surprised as anybody.
I was not rooting for them. I hope the plane crashes with all the players on it.
Oh, wow.
That's a joke. That's a joke. That's a joke for anyone listening. I don't mean that. I'm just, they cut me, so I'm just a bitter person. That's all.
He's just got some anger issues about the Philadelphia Eagles. It's understandable.
No, I just have
been a millionaire.
But no.
What's the, before we go into the other stuff, what was your weight? You were a linebacker, right?
I was.
Offense?
Defense. Outside linebacker.
Is that LT? Is that the same position? No. What's Lawrence Taylor?
He was an outside linebacker.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because he was ferocious. Oh my God, was that guy ferocious?
We were both outside linebackers, but in those days when people actually used to run the ball, he would have been considered a rush linebacker. I would have played opposite of him. I would have been called a drop linebacker. So LT's job was to do exactly what everyone remembers him doing, and that's destroying quarterbacks.
Yeah, destroying the quarterbacks like a grizzly bear was on the field with a human being.
Yeah,
it was like
he was
so fast and powerful. It was like crazy.
Yeah. My job was to play opposite of him and to make him look good.
Okay.
I don't make the newspaper unless I screw up. My job is to keep things in a box so someone like Lawrence Taylor can create havoc.
Right, and it's intense, right, on the field, because everybody's huge and really, really, really strong guys, and that's a really aggressive. That's a position that you probably. What's the lifespan? Like 3 years or something? 5 years?
The average NFL lifespan is 3.5 seasons tops.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's just from the brutality of it.
Yeah, it's actually been measured, and they said it's the equivalency of getting into. Again, back in my day, it was like 60 snaps a game, 60 20-mile-an-hour head-on collisions.
Wow.
It's hard on your body.
What type of shape were you in then? Did you have a really intense workout regimen? Because I know they've gotten more scientific about that over the years. Like body fat and things like. I think they do. Maybe I don't know that.
No, they do. It's gotten more scientific, but my workout regimen is the same as today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I still haven't. I've never stopped working out.
Oh, that's cool. Wow, that's great.
Well, it's more of community service. if I don't work out, I'm crazy, and if I'm crazy, around me or not.
If I don't work out, I'll kill somebody. Pretty much.
Pretty much.
All right.
Pretty much. Yeah, I'm not the most sane, centered person you've ever met. So if I don't burn this off, it's just not going to go well for the humans around me.
Okay. So now getting back to, so you start a process that you start investigating on your own. You're questioning, who is this God and is this a real thing? And when did you start the real questioning, would you say? And you point me to the most important parts, because I don't know. So
I would say since forever.
Really?
Well, I've always had questions. Like I think I've told you before, the being kicked out of Sunday school for asking my Sunday school teacher, what did Noah do with all the poop? Because as a 10 or 11-year-old, that's just a logical question. Because I've been to zoos before at that point. And zoos are huge. And zoos, no matter where you are, smell terrible. You can't keep up with all the waste. And that's in a professional setting. And so in my mind, you've got a wooden boat the size of a football field with hundreds of thousands, if not a million animals, and 8 people. One window. That's not logical. They can't keep the waste off that boat. Right. And so as a kid, I would ask what they do with all that waste. And I got kicked out.
You got kicked out?
I did.
Shut up, devil kid. You're going to be an atheist one day.
Pretty much. I was told that if you keep asking those questions, you're going to go to hell. Well, if you want to scare a kid, especially me, a mama's boy, you want to scare me, tell me I'll never see my mother again. Because that's exactly what they would tell me. Oh, your mother's going to go to heaven. You're going to go to hell. Right. So what do you
just for asking about Noah's Ark?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's exactly why she kicked me out. Right. And I've always had questions. Like I remember asking my aunt after church one day, because for whatever reason, the pastor just really hammered it in that we had to be God-fearing. Well, why do I need to fear somebody? Right. Because I've been afraid my whole life. I'm a young kid. I hear the N-word every other day. The first person to ever call me that was my kindergarten teacher. That's a true story. And
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
Wow.
I was so young, I didn't know what the word meant. And when she said it, it just became contagious fire. And then all the other kids were saying it because they really didn't know what they were saying. And when I went home, you're a kid. So, the more the merrier. And I remember telling my grandmother and my aunt what had happened that day. And you never guess what I am. And I told them. And they sat me down and told me about that word. And I will never forget the feeling of my heart dropping into my feet.
Wow.
Right? No child should ever have to go through that. And so, long story short, I've been afraid, the first decade of my life. I know about lynchings now. I know about the N-word. I know apparently I'm not equal. But now I'm supposed to fear this person that I'm supposed to love more than my own family. That makes no sense. So every step of my Christian walk, I always had what I considered to be an incredibly logical question. Right? Why should I be afraid? Why is the Ark poop proof, but the San Antonio Zoo isn't? Right? I've always had questions.
Wow. Were you like one of the only black kids in the class? Or were there, how did that?
Well, when you tell I'm not a parent, but I mean, if you tell a 5 or 6-year-old, if you hold an orange in front of a 5-year-old, and if you tell them this is a pear, they're going to believe that's a pear. Because at 5 years old, you don't know shit, right? You just don't. And so when the teacher, the leader of the class, calls someone N-word, you're 5. None of us knew what that meant. And so it just, right? Well, Miss Dee Dee said it, so I'm going to say it. Well, John said it, so now he's going to say it. Susie said it, so Eric's going to say it. Next thing you know, man, no one calls me Robert unless I'm in Texas. So my name is Chris. So next thing you know, everyone's calling Chris the N-word all day long.
Wow.
And Chris is loving it. Chris is
you loving it? You didn't know that it was
what
like...
it means. Until someone tells you that those 2 syllables are negative, you don't know what it means. Right? Wow. And so that's again, I've been taught to be afraid my whole life, but now I go to church and I'm supposed to be a God-fearing person.
When do you think, this is a weird question, but when do you think kids start becoming conscious of that socially? And your guess is good enough.
Well, I mean, for me,
because,
it came
all right,
early.
well, let me tell you a story, and then you tell me what you make of this. When I was, what was that, 5th grade, there was a kid, Dave. I guess I won't use his full name, but he was a black kid, and I was really good friends with him. And I'd go to his house after school all the time. And one time I came home, and my mom, being the good liberal, says to me, "I think it's really nice that you're friends with with Dave, and he's black." And I wasn't really sure what she was talking about. I was like, "What?"
Sure.
I mean, I kind of knew what she was talking about, but you know what I'm saying? So when does a kid start? Because if a kid isn't taught that, I don't know if they'd even know it. You know what I'm saying? It's the parents.
It is 100% the parents. One of my students, I've watched her. I don't watch her, but I knew her when she didn't have a kid, and then she got pregnant. She had a kid, and her kid was, man, maybe knocking on being a teenager's door. So maybe 11, 12 years old, maybe even 13. And they go to a very small private school. And I remember her telling me this story, and it made me cry. And it's exclusive, and it predominantly white. By predominantly, I mean all white.
Right.
And she was and one family moved in that just so happened to be African American. And her son immediately became attracted to this other kid, and they became best friends in 2 seconds. And after months and months and months of being the best of friends, he comes home and, starts telling mommy about Miles. His name, the boy's name is Miles, and so is her son. And he's like, "Mommy, you know what I just realized about Miles? You know what's really different about me and Miles?" And my student, Robin, her butt cheeks start to clench up, and she's like, "Oh shit, now we have to have the talk." I spell my name M-I-L-E-S. He spells his name M-Y-L-E-S. Right. Neither Robin's family nor the black family told the other kids one's white, one's black. They never figured out there was a skin tone difference. Their only difference was a Y and an I. And these kids are knocking on 13 years of age. And so it's just a beautiful thing. And there is no difference between you and me, Craig, until someone comes in from the outside and says, "Hey, Robert,
there's a big difference. There's a big difference. Are you kidding? Those guys are black. We're white."
Yeah, exactly. You and I will play in the same sandbox. You and I will be the best of friends until someone says, "Craig,
you can't hang out with those guys."
Exactly.
You can't hang.
Yeah, racism is taught. And until then, you and I will hug each other around the neck until someone from the outside says, "You can't be that guy's friend."
Right. There was a Star Trek once that they did a perfect play on it, where it was like the old Star Treks in the late 60s. Yeah. And one guy, these two warring tribes were warring at each other, and one of them had one side of their face was white and the other was black. And the guys on Star Trek were all like, "Wait, you guys are exactly the same." Like, "No, you don't see it. The left side of his face is white, while the right side of my face is white." It was a perfect send up. Because it's like, yeah, you guys are exactly the same to anybody, any normal person watching. You're the same species, same type of thing, a person.
And I hope if I live another 46 years on this planet, I hope I can get to a point where I see people interacting like that. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I am tired. I mean, the hate, the racism, the division, it is tiresome. It is really, really tiresome.
To this day, still, you would say that?
100%. I'm still around people to this day who say the most racially insensitive stuff to me.
Really? Wow.
Oh yeah. Oh, when I first started working in the gym that I'm in right now, it wasn't until I started having to literally yell at my coworkers because they would say, where I live, the bar for racism has been set so low and I'm just going to say the word. So if anyone's listening, just put on your helmet. As long as you don't say the word nigger, you are not a racist. That's how low the bar has been set. But racism and being racist it's a big cloud of crap, right? And I can't, the number of times, until I started yelling at people, because both my parents are educated. I have a working cell phone. I have good credit. I own a home. And so these things don't fit into people's mold of what is stereotypically black. And so I would always hear, you sound white, you act white, you're the whitest black guy I've ever met. That's racist shit. That is racist beyond measure. And it got to a point where I started yelling at people. And the last person that's ever tested me, I'll never forget her, when she told me, you sound white. And I stopped the session right there on the spot. And I told her, I need you to talk black for me right now. And I didn't think she was going to do it. And sure enough, she did her stereotypical black guy impersonation. And in front of that entire gym, I cussed her ass out one side, down the other, through her mouth, out her ass, and I never trained her ever again. And I've never been more insulted in my life. So, yeah, I am still around a whole hell of a lot of racial insensitivity, and I'm done with it. I'm tired.
Why is that, you think? Because where you live now, in Texas?
Yeah, I'm in Central Texas.
Have you traveled to places like New York City or LA or places that are more urban?
Yeah,
more. And is there a difference, or is it
huge difference? Huge. Like my last trip to New York, I'm not cut out for New York. Even though I think I told you, I'm supposed to be a New Yorker. My dad was drafted by the my dad was drafted by the New York Jets.
Oh, cool. Man, we had season tickets to the Jets.
Yeah. I'm supposed to be a New Yorker, but my dad is such a priorities guy that he had a choice to make. I could entertain my country or I could defend my country. My dad went to Vietnam instead of playing
69 when the Jets won the Super Bowl. That was around 67, 68, 69, right?
Yep. My dad graduated college in 1968.
So he would have been on Joe Namath's Super Bowl team the year later. Yep. Oh my God. Oh my God.
What's that?
You gotta hold a grudge. Doesn't he talk about it? Like, I could have been on Joe Namath's Super Bowl winning team.
For my dad, it's not.
Oh my God.
You got to understand how much of this is why my dad is my idol. I have loved my dad since the day I met him, and he is still the greatest man I've ever met. You have never met a more honest, honorable, hardworking, family-oriented man in your life. You will not meet a man greater than my father. And so for him, it wasn't an option. Right?
You defend your country, that's what you do. Exactly. Period.
Your country needed to be defended. They didn't need another football player. So for him, it's not a regret. It's simply it's the right thing to do. Right? You can either drink 12 gallons of liquor or you can drink milk. Right? It's not an option for that guy. You do the right thing always. That's just my dad.
Right. So you've been to New York though, and you like New York?
And the best part about New York, even though I'm not built for New York, is the multiculturalism. Yeah. Something that's sorely lacking down here in Central, and at least in Central Texas, in that there are places you can go in New York and not hear English for 10 minutes.
Oh, easily.
Right?
Totally.
It's crazy. And I'll just say it, I live in Austin, and Austin likes to fancy itself as, liberal, which Austin is, and diverse, which it is not. Right. Austin is 7% black. There's no black population. There's no culture here in Austin. But when you go to New York, you see all different types of nationality. You get food that you didn't know existed. You hear languages that you've never heard before. And that's, again, if I had the stomach for New York, I'd go there once a year just so I could see other nationalities exist. Because as far as I'm concerned, being an old Southern boy, that's just what I saw on TV, right? To go, there's no Chinatown here in Austin. There just isn't. And you go to Chinatown and you get knee deep in someone else's culture, and it's wonderful. I never got a chance to go to Little Italy, but right, you go there and you see something that you've never seen before. And
yeah, you get the best Italian. You get better pizza in New York than you have in actual Italy. Actually, like honestly, you could get better Italian food in the Bronx than you could get in Florence.
That's crazy.
And the other thing about New York that is totally on the same page that you're on. Like one of the things that I never stop getting tired of is like I would get these like, for example, my favorite Polish restaurant was just this little dive Polish place. You get really authentic Polish food for like $5. It was on Second. It was in the East. It was in the East Village. It was the best Polish food you ever had in your life. Best kielbasa, the best like sauerkraut. See, and it was like a little hole in the wall dive.
Stuff I've never tried before.
Yeah, you could do that with every nationality: Russian, Polish, Indian food. That's one great thing. And like, yeah, you hear every type of language under the sun just walking down the street. You know, that's something that you sort of take for granted when you live there, even in the area. But
oh, sure.
And yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, depends on what neighborhood you're in, but there's a lot more minority presence in New York. It's probably like 25%, I think, maybe 30, 35. I'm not sure what the actual numbers are.
I wish, like, again, there's a reason why I wish I was in New York or could have been raised in New York so I could see stuff like that. So I literally had a talk with a friend not too long ago. The best part about being in Louisiana, where I'm from, is you know exactly where you stand. There's two types of people there, blacks and whites, period.
Right.
To use your term. And
use my term.
Yeah, and we don't associate with them. They don't associate with us. And it's completely effed up, but at least you know where you stand, right? There's a white church and there's a black church. There's a black grocery store. There's a white grocery store. And right. And it's in a very perverse sense, comforting. That's all you've ever known. Because, well, hell, if you go into the white grocery store, you're either going to get really shitty service, you're going to get called the N-word.
Right. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I've been refused service. And was I still married? I was still married at the time. So it was about 6 years ago where there was a little trailer that served snowballs. I think everyone else calls them snow cones. And
yes, we do.
Yeah.
Snow cones.
So we were walking up to go buy some snowballs, and it was me, my cousins, my dad, and my then wife. And my then wife, she had never ever seen stuff like this. And this little hut, this little trailer was literally on the lip between the black side of town and the white side of town. This guy had a line of like 4 white kids that he served. He just served them and he saw us walking up. We were about 15 meters away. He saw us coming. And keep in mind, this was in the middle of the day. He drew his shade and he put the closed for business sign up. He was not going to serve N-words. My dad laughed his monkey ass off. And at that time, we're 20. So in 2012, this is still a topic of damn conversation. Right. Wow. And so to go to New York and see the exact opposite, to see neighborhood after neighborhood after neighborhood after neighborhood, culture after culture after culture after culture was just amazing. Amazing. Again, I'm too much of a Southerner, so I can't spend too much time there because it'll drive me crazy. But to see that,
it'll start to give you hives, the energy and the commotion, because it would even give me that sometimes. It starts to get inside of you, and
oh yeah. Well, there's no reason why 2 p.m. and 2 a.m. should look the exact same.
Right, and that's fun when you're out on the town, but it never stops. And like I remember, because I lived in the suburbs, so I would take a 20-minute train ride like I go in the city for like 4 or 5 days at a time. And I remember when I get off the train in the suburb, the town I live in was a nice little, you know, really nice suburban town. I would feel this like 5 pounds has just disappeared off me, 15 even, you know, because you don't even realize how much angst you carry around with you when you're in the city. You're totally wired differently.
Oh,
you know,
sure.
The whole time
How
you're there.
are you not tense the whole time? It's constant hustle and bustle. The second time I ever went as an adult, and I remember because one of my students is from New York, and I remember texting her. I got off the plane and I got on a subway or train. I can't remember what it was. And I guess a homeless guy. And he's screaming at the top of the lungs, and he's gonna.
Everyone's walking by. I have nobody cares.
No one's paying him any attention. And he's gonna stomp this again. I'm gonna stomp this nigga out if he does blah, blah, blah. And he's yelling at this person because apparently someone spit on him. And he's just talking about, I'm gonna stomp this out. I'm gonna whip your ass. And then after listening to him for about 30 seconds, I realized he's talking about himself. He spit on himself. And he was mad at himself for doing it. And the next time he does it, he's going to kick his own ass. And I'm like, okay, this is different. This is a different animal. The Southern boy needs to get the hell out of here. I'm not used to this. This was a whole different bag of crazy that I'm just not used to. So
I've seen hundreds of things like that. There was one, my favorite one was in the subway. There's this one Asian dude he had this big down coat on, and he was going, choo-choo train, go too fast. Choo-choo train, just go too fast. He's just repeating that as we were driving. I was like, okay, well, good point. You know, yeah, I guess it's going a little fast. But you see stuff like that, you know, people just walk right by it. You know, you don't even process it when you've been in New York, you know, for any amount of time. You just start, even if you stay there for like 3 days, you just start not noticing stuff like that. You know, you just keep walking. Yeah. That's why everyone walks so fast. Because there's just too much blight right around you, too many insane things that if you slow down and empathize, you'll get swallowed up. You know, you'll never come back. So you just like move fast and go to what you're doing.
Yeah, that's a little bit too much for my Southern blood.
Yeah, I'm sure it's too much for. I mean, Southern. The thing about the South that's probably it's single. I've never been there. I've never been to anywhere in the Deep South, even Florida. My wife goes to Florida probably every year, because her father grew up there. But I never go with her. She goes to Miami usually. But I've never actually, she's been to Atlanta, and just the pace of life. Like I know this one woman from Georgia who's, you know, everything's like really slow. That's what I've heard. I'm guessing it's true, but like, you know, the waitress comes up like, how y'all doing? Yeah, what you want? You know, everything's like laid back and mellow, and everybody takes their time. You know, that's even different than here in LA. I mean, LA is not New York, but it's not laid back like that, I'd imagine.
We take our time down here in the South. There is no rush to do anything. Yeah, it's friendlier, for lack of a better term, right? Probably because we aren't in a rush. Not everything is a sign of aggression, right? It's something I even learned while I was in Philadelphia, right? Down here, when you, especially between us people of color, when you see another person of color, you wave, you nod, you acknowledge their existence.
Oh, wow. What's up? Right? What's up, guys?
Yeah, exactly.
What are you waving at me for? What you want something?
Yeah, when I got to Philly, it was absolutely a sign of aggression.
Yeah, I can totally understand that.
Yeah, hey, what's up? They're like, what? I'm like, no. I'm just saying hi. And like, why? I'm like, because you look like me.
So I'm just saying hi. I totally understand that, because I noticed that when we first came to LA. That's a big difference. Like if somebody comes up to you in LA, if somebody comes up to you in New York and says hi, you're like, what does this guy want? What on earth? Who are you? You know, hi, how are you? You're like, all right, who are you? But in LA, people do that all the time. And like, first it weirds you out. You're like, what do you mean, hi? What do you want?
Right. And if you I could say, I apologize. And they're going crazy back there. I'm trying to shut them up. No, I actually remember asking my mother why, because again, I was a kid. And it's just little things you pick up on. And I always asked her why. Whereas like, do you know this person? Do you know that person? Like, no, it's a sign of respect. You know, you see another person sitting on their porch walking past you, you acknowledge that person. That's what you do. And so in the South, when you see an elderly person on their porch, you know, good morning, Mr. Johnson. You know, as you're walking to school, when you do that in New York, you're liable to get your ass whipped. In Philly, they're liable to, you know, buck up to you like, what you saying hello to me for?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh man, shit, this is a whole different universe.
Yeah, totally. Even in Philly is laid back by New York standards. My sister went to school there, so I've been to Philly a bunch of times. I like Philly actually, but my sister went to college there.
Yeah, I love the food. I wasn't the fan of everything else. It was just, again, by Southern standards. What's that?
Where did you go in New York when you went?
Oh man, I was smack dab in the middle of downtown, Times Square.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I figured if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. Right. That to me is New York. So I saw a musical on a Saturday. That Sunday, that entire cast cleaned up on the Tonys. It was the most amazing musical I've ever seen. I've had some of the best food I've ever had. The experience was great. I just know I can't. That's not up for me. It's one of those. I'm glad I marked it off the list. Now let's never do that shit ever again.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can totally understand that. All right. So Reed, what time we got? How long have we been doing this? You're coming back.
5:06 Texas time.
Yeah, you're coming back when? Either tomorrow or
I can do tomorrow.
John on? Is John on here? Is John here?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't have. Do you want to ask him anything before we ask him a couple questions?
Sure. Yeah.
So I can ask him some.
Well, first let me ask you something, and then you can ask me something.
Go ahead.
So you teach? Is it karate or?
The actual term is Kaju-Kimbo.
Say again.
The actual word is Kaju-Kimbo.
Kaju-Kimbo. Okay.
Which is MMA.
Oh, okay, cool. So like Joe Rogan types.
Kind of.
Okay.
It's great reading while you're on the toilet, but it's Kaju-Kimbo is an acronym. Karate, judo, jiu-jitsu, Chinese kempo, and Chinese boxing. And basically what it is, it's all the gross things of those 5 arts combined. It's biting, it's eye gouging, it's small joint manipulation. It's how can I hurt someone as fast as humanly possible.
It's not a show art or anything like that. It's an actual like defensive.
Absolutely not. You will not see this on ESPN2 with people doing forms. No, it's literally meant
to hurt people.
It is. How can I end the confrontation as fast as possible?
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm in. Well, how do I sign up? Can you sign us up for it? Can you teach it to us over at Google?
Everywhere. And the only thing I tell people, if they're thinking about doing it seriously, make sure your health insurance is paid up because it's hard. It is difficult.
Does it work on atheists? Like if an atheist messes with me,
well,
can I be like, I
would say
just take them down.
Just about anybody. It's
okay. Cool.
It's gross.
I'm in.
It is gross.
Awesome. Did you hear that, John? It's gross. I mean, bloody, terrible.
I like it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I like it too. I like it too, Reed.
Ooh, what was that? All right. Can I ask a question?
Yeah. Go for it.
All right. Because you said it before we got on air. The philosophical position of atheist is what again?
Okay. So on my Twitter feed, I have, or on my Twitter bio, I have it listed, lack of belief that there is no God. That's just me kind of being snarky towards the typical new atheist argument that they don't hold to the proposition that there is no God, because that would be a positive assertion, and that's something that can't be proven one way or the other. And so they go off or they go over like they lack the belief in a God, just because it's simple. It's just straightforward. It explains exactly everything to do with it. And so I don't know. That was just my snarky.
He's jerking the chain of atheists, putting out.
Okay.
He's putting out a. He hasn't learned yet. I learned that once, like a year and a half ago, that if you put out like. Atheists are very touchy. If you put out like a tweet or something critical of atheism, all of a sudden you'll have like 20 atheists like, hey, what do you mean? So I stopped doing it.
But you two can see why we would be touchy, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. There's a ton of negative stereotypes for atheists that they're still having to go through that. Like, just even proclaiming yourself as an atheist is like a death to your political career or anything like that.
And your employment and your social standing.
Yes.
And so when we hear or we see things on Twitter, we do get sensitive because, I mean, unlike Christianity, there are actually laws on the books in 7 states that say you can't be an atheist and hold public office. I actually live in one of those states right now.
Wow.
Oh, and Louisiana has an actual law?
Texas has an actual law.
Oh, Texas. Okay.
Didn't Aaron cannot be an atheist and hold public office. Now, the good news is federal law will trump state law.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, just saying I'm an atheist and I want to be the governor of Texas is the death sentence. And so we do fight for correction when we see things online or when we hear things being said, because, and I'm not playing victim at all, but when you are part of such a marginalized group, it's good to get things correct so that people realize what we are versus what we are not.
Yeah.
I'm just like you, Craig. I really am. But the only difference is, sure, I bet you if you and I said this about Stephanie, even. If me and Stephanie met,
don't get me started on Stephanie. Don't get me started. I hate her. That's what they just say. I hate her.
If I met Stephanie in a coffee shop.
Wait, is Stephanie in the chat group?
I don't know.
Is she in the chat group? Is she? Does anybody read the chats? Is anybody watching the show? Is anybody watching us? Hey, audience. Stephanie, mute everybody. Mute everybody, Stephanie.
And if I just bought her coffee because she was in line in front of me and we sat down for 20 minutes waiting for the same plane, I bet you me and Stephanie would hit it off. If the God thing just never came up, I'm sure we would laugh and be like, hey, you know what? It's been a nice talk. Stephanie, nice to meet you. Robert.
Oh, you mean hit it? Oh, you mean hit it off? Like have a nice. I thought you meant hit it off. Like Reed's gonna play the moves on. Reed's let me buy you a coffee. No, all right. Reed's gonna get all smooth.
And I would say that about any of the Christians I've met on Twitter. I think at our foundations, we're probably all the same people.
Definitely. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I would agree.
Yeah. Just like you can get a Republican and a Democrat. If politics never came up, you would just laugh. You'd have a good time. You probably like the same sports or the same movies.
Oh, totally. Right? That's exactly why. Yeah. That's exactly why I can get along with so many different types of people, because I don't take their beliefs personally. I don't I don't take it personally that you're an atheist, Reed. You know, that's between you and whatever. You know, it's not.
Sure.
It's nothing to do with me necessarily. Right. So if we just talk about things that we agree on.
Yeah. And the only difference between my non-belief and Christians' belief, I wouldn't talk about Christianity at all. It would be the same as me being upset on how much garlic you use in your dinner. I really don't care how much garlic you use in your dinner every night. The reason why Christianity always comes up is because it affects me, right? It affects gay people. It affects atheists. It affects everyone. It affects Christians, because this Christian doesn't think this Christian is the right type of Christian. And so we have to talk about these things, because Christianity, in my opinion, has overreached its boundaries. If it just stayed in the church, I wouldn't give a shit. But it hasn't. It's affected my personal relationships. I'm just talking about myself personally. I've taken shit at work because of I'm defined by what I don't believe in versus who I am. You see what I'm saying? So again, this is why we always fight for correction, and we're just like everybody else, just like y'all are just like everybody else, right?
You just want to fit in, raise your family, be left alone, right? Not raise your family, no. You're not like everybody else because you eat children. That's different.
Well,
but
yeah,
other than that,
that's different. I'm different in that I eat mine with ketchup. But
yeah,
we all want to be accepted. We're all social creatures. No one wants to be excluded. So, yeah, we just want to fit in just like everybody else.
And a lot of times people's religions are kind of that blockade that occurs because it's just creating some sort of separate wall that people can use as a dividing line between each other just to stay within the realm of tribalism. And it's not even just between, say, theists and atheists, but a lot of the times between like Christians and Jews, or Christians and Christians, or Christians and Muslims. It's all over the place.
Well, because everyone thinks that they're right. Right? I mean, I always bring her up because she's a big cog in my life. But my Hindu friend, right?
Oh yeah, that's true with
gods.
Polytheism. Yeah,
they have countless gods. And if I were,
300 million.
Brought it up, if I asked her, she would tell me you guys are wrong. If I asked you guys, you would say she is wrong. If you ask me, I say I don't have evidence for anybody's stuff, so I'm just going to stay neutral until someone finally shows me that either a dead Jew came back to life, or there's a god out there with a monkey's head on it. It's religion has been somewhat of a divide, not somewhat, has been a huge dividing point between us all, right? And it's like I said, it's overstepped its bounds.
There's this, I guess, kind of catchphrase from Jonathan Haidt that I love: the morality's bind and blind, because like it's useful for like keeping a group together if there's some sort of value that is held socially amongst all of you, among a people, but at the same time, by instituting that value or that belief as being primary, it's there in a way to
persecute outsiders.
Well, it's like a double-edged sword, where it's a method of harboring cooperation between people, along with also separating out anybody that does not does not believe in the same value.
Right. Common enemy. It's common enemy. That's one of the things Adam was talking about.
Yeah.
Common enemy, identity politics, but it's common enemy everything. Tribalism can be like a good way to, you're part of a group and you have social cohesion. You're all like-minded individuals, but human beings being what they are, they tend to try to define it the easiest way possible by picking the outsiders and the enemies, and that's how they roll with it.
Sure.
And religion is perfect for that. Religion as much as anything else. But one day, Reed, if atheism takes root, God help us. If atheism takes root in America, God forbid. You're gonna have like these are the Matt Dillahunty atheists versus these are the Robert Reed atheists, and like, no, the Robert Reed atheists believe X, Y, Z. But it hasn't happened yet, but it could.
I mean, how technical do you want me to get with my comeback with that? What you just said? Because again, I'll still make the argument. Atheism has already taken over. It's just a matter of, do you realize you're an atheist or not? And if quote unquote atheism takes over, so what? Right? Again, atheism is nothing. I've said this before. Atheism is lint in your pocket. It's not a worldview. It doesn't hold any water. All atheism says is, I don't believe you. Right? There's no worldview connected to you don't believe in Zeus. Right? You not believing Zeus does not influence a damn thing in either one of y'all's daily decisions. You just don't believe in Zeus. It doesn't come into your play. My non-belief in Jehovah doesn't influence my daily decisions. Do I help my neighbor? Oh, Craig, you all right? You're sorry.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, I'm okay for the time being.
Okay. But my non-belief in Jehovah does not influence my daily decisions at all. Do I walk my dogs or do I not? Do I help my neighbor or do I burn their house down? That not believing in Jehovah doesn't enter my day at all. It just doesn't. not in terms of how it is I'm going to conduct my day. So as far as I'm concerned, atheism has already taken over.
Well, okay. So on that note, on that positive note, people, atheism is taking over. It's already taken over, kids. You heard it here live. All right, so let's wrap it up. And are we doing this tomorrow, or are we doing it
I can do it
Monday?
tomorrow. I can do it tomorrow. You just give me the time.
All right, cool. So we'll do it. Should I announce it? John, what time are you good? Is John there? Is he gone?
John hold ass.
John left.
Well, how about this?
Yeah, John. All right, well, so we'll
just give me some time to work out. For me, that's like 9 o'clock Texas time. I can probably be by my phone by noon or 1.
Okay, so let's say tentatively 2 tomorrow, California time.
So that sounds perfect.
And then we'll see if John's agreement. So look for us tomorrow, kids. If you want to see part 2, we're gonna find out more about Mr. Robert Reed here. Interesting conversation thus far. We're gonna dig more into his. What are we gonna dig into, Reed? How you came about your non-belief.
Let's do that. Let's go ahead and hit that atheism thing.
Okay, so let's sign off. John, you want to cut the computer? And he's actually the one holding the laptop.
Gotcha.
Because I didn't have any power. Because
John, sign us off. John hates us. It's like Stephanie when she hung up on us.
Yeah, Stephanie did have. We're still on air, so let's talk about Stephanie and pretend we're doing it. So we're doing it. We don't know we're on air, Stephanie. Yeah, Stephanie was so annoying when she did that. I couldn't believe it.
I don't know how that. I don't know how this internet or the YouTube thing works, but we had a good thing going, and she cut off from us. But
which chat was this? Was this one of these
second one
way back? The coffee talks from a year ago or something like that?
Yeah,
oh,
about 9 months ago. Yeah,
John, sign us off.
Okay.
We're saying goodbye.
My laptop died. I think. Oh, yeah. I'll actually have to sign in with the other account. Sorry.
Yeah, but you're the one who has to take us off the air because
I know.
So
I'm on it.
Saying, did anybody watch? Did anybody watch the show today?
You had like about you hovered around 4 or 5 viewers the whole time.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5. You hear that, Reed?
I did.
That's the beginning of fame. That's the beginning of fame, Reed. Don't let it go to your head.
Don't
4
worry.
or 5 viewers. 4 or 5 guys listening to your life story. You know, don't go lording it over people tonight. Going, I was on YouTube and telling about my life story. I'm the coolest thing.
Oh, don't worry.
Thing
I never do. Let's do this tomorrow.
Yeah, we will. You can go. We're just waiting to.
Let's see.
Yeah, we'll do it tomorrow.
12 noon my time?
Yes.
So
tentatively.
All right. I'll see y'all then.
Amen, Reed.
All right.
Good chat. So Robert's out. Just stop broadcast. Are you looking at the laptop right now?
Yeah, it like closed out of the live control room, and I'm trying to get it back up.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. I guess I can view on the watch page. Yes. Back up. Oh, I guess I should just re-sign in.
Something just happened. Oh, wait. I'm the only one on air now? Am I still live? Am I live now? Okay, so we had ourselves a little chitty chat with Mr. Robert Reed, and all things considered, I think it went pretty well. I don't know if anybody's seen the news, but there's fires in my area, and I'm on potentially evacuation notice. So if I seem stressed out, I hit it well. I think I hit it pretty well. But we are we are on notice to be leaving, having to pack up and run away from fires, from California wildfires. So that's what I was dealing with the whole time. The whole time. That's why I seemed so on edge, stressed. And it seems like we're still broadcasting. So, the sweetest cat in the world. You're the sweetest cat that ever lived. All right. So, there we go.
There we go. All right.
Are we off?